Not every man who remains silent is weak. Some are just waiting for the right day. I'm Andrew Miller. I live in New Jersey. I'm 40 years old. I'm a project director for a large architectural firm. My whole life I've been a planner. I've calculated every step, seen every detail. But there was one thing I couldn't calculate: the betrayal of the closest. Vanessa and I had been married for 8 years. When we first met, my heart was beating like crazy. I was in love with her smile. But it turned out that her smile was only real when she was facing other faces. It all started one morning. I prepared his coffee just the way he likes it. Low sugar, lots of foam. I put it on the table and he was buried in the screen, not even looking up. He said, "Thank you," just one word. But there was no warmth in it, no part of me. Once there were smiling eyes and touching hands in that thank you, now it was just emptiness. She grabbed her bag and walked out the door without even looking in the mirror. It was silent. Only the sound of heels remained inside. And there was one thing that didn't hang in the room after him: his smell. As if when she left the house that day, she didn't just open the door, he shut me down too. At that moment, something inside me snapped. My eyes fell into emptiness. I whispered to myself, "This woman is someone else now." But I still tried to convince myself. Maybe it's just stress, maybe it's just temporary. But I was wrong, because that morning was just the beginning. But from that day on, things started to change rapidly. The late nights increased. First it was a meeting, then dinner with the girls, then breath camp. But every time he came back, there was something I didn't recognize. His perfume had changed. You know how when you change the scent, you change your soul? That's exactly what it was. When he came to bed, his back was turned. His phone was always on silent. He hid it with strange reflexes so I wouldn't look at the screen. Once I wanted to approach him when his phone was charging, but he took it with a sudden movement. "The battery is low, I need to charge it," he said. But the screen lock had changed to a new password. She started spending time outside all the time. Pilates 3 days a week, 2 days of breathing therapy. On Saturdays, women's meditation workshop. But each time she returned, her face was more distant, her hands stranger. One night I noticed an unusual odor on her dress. Not women's perfume, not soap. A pungent men's cologne. I didn't ask. Because some questions can be answered. He gives up on himself too. That night I lay down next to him. I wanted to hug his back, but the tension rising from his body. "Don't touch me," he shouted in silence. At that moment, a silent decision was born in me. Without shouting, without fighting, without leaving a trace. I'll understand everything. I'll see everything. And when the time comes, I will give the necessary answer. I didn't speak after that. No reproaches, no tears. I just started watching, because there's no point in fighting with an unfaithful person. But to confront him with his own lies, that's art. And that night, I woke up my inner detective. First thing I did was call an old friend, Marcus, the private detective. We graduated college together back in the day, but he's someone we choose different ways of questioning life. When Marcus came, he just asked me, "Do you want the truth at the end of this or revenge?" I didn't even think about the answer. There is no difference between the two, Marcus, because sometimes the truth is revenge in itself. Marcus is up and running. First social media, then vehicle GPS tracking, phone signals, credit card statements, and perhaps most importantly, little crumbs that break out of routines. One morning you say you're going to a yoga session. Actually checked into a luxury hotel downtown. Reception records, security camera footage. They were all links in the chain. But the real blow, when we found out who he was with when he left the hotel. I couldn't look at the photo for a long time. The man walking with his suitcase in his hand and a smile on his face. My best friend, my business partner, our marriage witness, Brian. At that moment, time stopped. All the emptiness in my heart started to fill with anger. But I still didn't scream, because I was no longer just a man who was cheated on. I had become the author of the story. I started to formulate my plan with Marcus. My goal was not to shout. It was to show to everyone, quietly but memorably. We documented their time together. When he said on social media, "I'm in a meeting," we archived footage of Brian and me in the same hotel room. While shopping together at the grocery store, videos of them arguing in pairs in the women's aisle. I collected every frame, every sentence, and this whole file into a dinner plan. When that day came, everything was perfect at home. His favorite wine on the table. Our favorite music was playing softly. I looked at him and smiled. "I have a special surprise for you tonight." Her eyes lit up with curiosity. "What is it?" she said. "Wait for me. He's coming soon," I said. 2 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. He opened the door. Brian came in. The look in his eyes. There are no words to describe that moment. Confusion, guilt, fear, shame all at once. I sat at the table. I looked at the two of them. Slowly, I opened my laptop, and I pressed play. As the images flow one by one, neither did I say anything. Neither they could speak. There were only eyes, fleeing, burning, stinging eyes. "Just watch tonight," I said, "because I have not only documented your story. Tomorrow morning, I will share it with my lawyer. Get ready for a surprise ending." And after that night, nothing was ever the same. When that night was over, neither of them could look back as they walked out the door. Brian opened his mouth to say something, but I held up my hand. "Silence is the most honest version of you. Stay that way." The next morning, I met with my lawyer. I took all the documents, photos, hotel records, and video evidence for adultery, breach of trust, and property division. But it wasn't enough. Because Brian wasn't just my friend, he was also in financial control of our company. And as I went through those files, I realized it wasn't just my heart that had been betrayed. My pocket, my labor, my years were betrayed. I went back through the accounting records. A few seemingly small pens, but recurring 2 to 3 times a month. Consulting fees, fraudulent payments, and luxury hotel expenses. Yeah, Brian didn't just share my personal life with me, had robbed me of my entire life. And this time I wasn't alone. Detective Marcus brought in a friend who's a financial auditor. After 2 weeks of hard work, we had a dossier. Even the Federal Financial Crimes Office decided to take a personal interest. Events fell like dominoes. Brian was indicted for fraud, false invoicing, and commercial treason. Even according to his own lawyer, there was no way he would not be convicted. What about her? The woman I called my wife? Yes, she was considered an accomplice, because most of the expenditures were passed through our joint accounts. Documents that were put in front of me to sign without me realizing, proving that he was, in fact, part of the game. At the last hearing, they were both sitting side by side, and I was across from them alone, but I had never felt so strong. When the judge announced the verdict, they both had tears in their eyes, but in my eyes there was only a peace. When the trial was over, I went outside. Journalists, cameras, questions, but I didn't answer any of them. I just walked, the weight that had been building up inside me for years, leaving it a little further behind with every step. And just as I turned the corner of the building, someone tapped me on the shoulder. It was Marcus. He smiled. "Was that revenge?" he said. I stopped. I looked at him. "No, Marcus, it was just the truth. But some truth. It destroys more than a heart you want to break." My note to the viewers: sometimes being cheated on is not just the end of love. It is the silent destruction of your life, your dignity, and all that you have accumulated over the years. But if you ask the right questions, every lie leaves a mark. And sometimes, just watch in silence is the first step in striking the biggest blow of all. What would you do? Write in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss such true stories. Because the next story, maybe it is a piece of your life.